come here when I was a little kid, it was quite different. It's still nice, but it was still quite different. Kind of makes you think about how the environment around us is changing, doesn't it? So Justin, what do you think about the environment?
I think it would be nice if people would think before they wreck the environment, and polluted the waters and the air.
Well, I hope that there wouldn't be any pollution and all that kind of stuff, so that our environment won't get wrecked. I think we should recycle everything we can, because the trees will be there so we can go camping in places like this.
Because some people don't stop and think sometimes before they do something, and then they get in a lot of trouble.
Environment, the place in which we live. It supports and sustains us. Sask Power, a part of our provincial environment for more than 60 years. It too supports and sustains us by providing electricity to over 400,000 customers scattered across nearly 652,000 square kilometers. And to make sure you and I get electricity whenever we want it, Sask Power operates power stations, distribution lines, and transmission lines throughout the vast area it serves. That means trying to manage a harmonious relationship with the environment we all share. Not always easy. The urgency to protect our environment is real.
As we enter the 1990s, we must become far more proactive on environmental matters. It's not only good business, it's our responsibility.
Even though Sask Power has always registered a strong commitment, almost all the corporation's operations affect our surroundings in some way. And like all other electrical utilities, Sask Power must make some complex, difficult, and often costly choices, addressing issues such as water management, land use, PCBs, global warming, and acid rain.
By acid rain, we mean rain which is 10 to 1,000 times more acid than normal, due primarily to the anthropogenic and human release of nitrogen oxides and sulfur dioxide into the air by automobiles and by industry, especially coal-fired power stations. Natural rain itself is always slightly acid because it contains dissolved carbon dioxide and small amounts of nitrogen and sulfur oxides released by biological and other natural processes. For instance, the high temperature of a lightning flash causes some of the nitrogen and oxygen of the air to combine and to form nitric oxide. In eastern North America, Europe, and increasingly in China, acid rain, together with the direct deposition of some of the released sulfur dioxide, is damaging our lakes, acidifying soil, and helping to damage our trees and other vegetation.
It all begins with our use of electricity. Every time we flip a switch, we create a demand for energy. To meet that demand, while still ensuring a safe, reliable, efficient, and environmentally sound source of electricity, means weighing power supply options. Weighing options and making use of natural resources like water for hydroelectric stations, and natural gas and coal in thermal stations. For Saskatchewan, coal is presently the most economically realistic because of the abundant supply the province has. So Sask Power uses over 7 million tons a year in 4 power plants to produce over 70% of the electricity we consume. In a typical plant, the coal is burned to produce steam. That steam in turn drives a turbine by striking thousands of small blades. The turbine then drives a huge copper-based generator, creating electricity. However, although the lignite coal mined in Saskatchewan has a low sulfur content, when burned, it still contributes to the problem of acid rain.
The lignite coal used by Sask Power contains about 0.5 to 0.7% sulfur, which is converted to sulfur dioxide on burning. If none of this is removed, some 88,000 tons of sulfur dioxide will be released to the atmosphere each year, together with about 35,000 tons of nitrogen oxides, formed from nitrogen originally present in the lignite and from chemical reaction of the nitrogen and oxygen in the air, which can happen if the temperature of combustion is high enough.
But Sask Power is trying to improve its position. Test furnace sorbent injection systems have been installed at Boundary Dam and Poplar River, intended to reduce sulfur dioxide emissions by 50%. And now Sask Power has acquired a Finnish technology called LIFAC, or limestone injection into the furnace and activation of the unreacted calcium. A $10 million system is currently being installed at Poplar River, and similar controls will be installed at the new Shand Power Station near Estevan.
The technology we're using at Shand is new to Saskatchewan Power and generally new to North America, and consists of injecting a calcium-bearing sorbent material into the combustion chamber. By introducing this material into a very specific zone of temperature and time in the furnace, this calcium will capture some of the sulfur dioxide and transform it into a dry, powdery material that can be collected and removed as part of the ash from the furnace. By doing this, we are able to meet the federal emission guidelines and do so in a manner which is more cost-effective than traditional wet scrubbers or other sulfur scrubbing technologies.
And the new Shand plant will not only incorporate the LIFAC process, but also controlled temperature burners that reduce the emission of harmful nitrogen oxides.
At Shand, the levels of emission that we're working to are typical of the industry, and the results that we'll be achieving are consistent with those achieved by other utilities. However, at Shand, the thing we're doing that's somewhat different is we are using what we believe to be simpler, more foolproof, and more cost-effective technologies to achieve that, particularly in the case of the sulfur dioxide emission.
Global warming is a process by which the entire globe has been undergoing increases in average temperature for the past over 100 years. And the greenhouse effect is a combination of both a natural and a man-induced phenomena, whereby the radiation from the sun enters through the atmosphere and is relatively unaffected by the atmosphere. But the story changes as the radiation is absorbed at the Earth's surface and then is re-radiated through the atmosphere. But the atmosphere, because of the greenhouse gases, effectively absorbs that heat energy and keeps it within the Earth atmosphere system, thereby having the potential to warm up the whole Earth atmosphere system and therefore the globe.
Methane and carbon dioxide, the major greenhouse gases. Of the two, carbon dioxide relates most to electrical utilities. Recent statistics show industry and transportation contribute 58% of the carbon dioxide or CO2 produced in Canada. But electrical utilities are also a major contributor, responsible for 22% of the overall total.
When you burn a fossil fuel, whether it be oil, gas, coal, wood, one of the products of combustion is always carbon dioxide. When you drive your car, you produce carbon dioxide. When you heat your home, you produce carbon dioxide. We burn about 7 million tons of coal in Saskatchewan Power, and carbon dioxide is produced by the burning of that 7 million tons of coal.
And when it comes to electrical generation and carbon dioxide, the harsh reality is that the only known way to totally eliminate emissions from coal-fired plants is to shut them down.
We would have to replace that generation with some other source of electricity or with conservation techniques. It's our view that while conservation and efficiency is a part of the solution, it's not the total solution. Therefore, other energy options would have to be utilized. We recognize that solar and wind have potential, but not in the quantities that we as a country and as a people require. We would be looking to hydroelectric power development and or nuclear power development to replace the coal-fired stations.
In the meantime, it means a continued search for solutions. Solutions like Sask Power's $2 million commitment to a major seedling program.
In the growth of a tree, photosynthesis plays a key role, and carbon dioxide is used and absorbed by tree production. And to this end, we will be building some greenhouses and doing some, helping with some reforestation in the province.